Okay, so the latest Man City transfer news regarding Joao Felix and Bruno Fernandes. Now, a lot of people, we'll start with Joao Felix. A lot of people got a glimpse of Felix last night playing in the Nations League between Portugal and Switzerland. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. And I'll also talk about his previous 2 seasons, because I've had a good look at him and I have some thoughts on hearing the latest news on what might be probably the best for Man City and for the player as well. Now, reports coming in from Portugal are that Man City have agreed the release clause, which is I think £106 million. They've agreed the €4.5 million, I think it is, per year salary, and to pay the agent's commission, which is always important to get a deal through. Understandably, Real Madrid and Man United are also apparently done exactly the same, slight differences on what they're prepared to pay on the wages and the agent's commission, but inevitably it's very similar money. Now, Benfica President has reportedly come back and made a counter-offer which would involve keeping Felix at Benfica for a further 1 year. Now, I think this seems a sensible option. You've got a 19-year-old lad there who is quite obviously talented, but is he ready to step up from, I mean, no disrespect to the Portugal League, but in comparison to the Premier League, it is a massive jump up. He won't get the same time on the ball. He won't have the same speed advantage that he does in the Portugal League in the Premiership. Now, you've got a lad there that when you look at him, I've watched his games last year, and he is without doubt a talented player. He's got all the ingredients there of a future world-class star. He can score. He can score with either foot. He's got a terrific leap to score with his head. He can play down the right, down the left, down the centre. He can feed. He's got a good eye for feeding the ball in to somebody who's making runs in the penalty area. If you play him slightly down the left or the right, he can cross with either foot, and he's got a few tricks in his locker, and he's got that confidence there. So there is no doubt he's a future star. But when you look at him, I don't think he's ready for the Premier League. Now, you saw the game last night. If you saw the game last night, he got substituted in the second half, and he was pretty ineffective. I think he had one chance that he ballooned over, but he wasn't the world superstar that everybody's making him out to be at the moment. But definitely he will be for the future. Now, if you have a look at really where he's come from, I mean, just go back 2 years to the 17-18 season. He was non-existent. If you look at his stats, there's nothing there really, and there's no footage to see him play, but there's nothing to suggest that you've got a player that could be worth that sort of money. He started the 18-19 season, pretty innocuous start. I mean, he was on the bench at Benfica. He was injured a little bit, and you look at the first sort of third of the season, and really he then came out of nowhere, and yeah, he is absolutely superb. Like I say, he's got all the necessary abilities, but I don't think he's ready. And I think from Man City's point of view, they would be better off securing his services for the future in some form, whether that be a loan back or whatever, or agreeing a deal to come into play in a year's time. But I think he would be better spending another year at Benfica. As a 19-year-old, I think he needs to be playing every week. When you look at the Man City side and where they need to strengthen and where they need to look at, yes, Aguero possibly a couple of years, but I think he would struggle to get a permanent role in the side next year. Now, a lot will depend on what happens with Leroy Sané, and talk is that Bayern Munich at the moment are saying what Man City want from him are too much, but that's all part of the negotiation process, and Man City may need to sell Sané depending on what else happens in the transfer market. But I feel that he wouldn't be a regular in the Man City team next year, and I think a player like that, if you're going to spend 106 million on a player like that, you want to be able to reap the rewards for a few years to come. And I think you could spoil a player quite easily by trying to put him into a Premier League champions next year, and I don't think he's ready. I think he's a fabulous player. I think Man City will secure his services because there's not many players like that coming up through the ranks that you can quite obviously see a world-class potential. But he's not ready now, and I think the Benfica president coming back to Man City and saying that, we'd like to keep him another year, but we can do business, I think is a sensible option. Now, a little bit of news regarding Bruno Fernandes from Sporting. He's a player that I think Man City would like. They're certainly after him. Reports coming in that Man City have offered 55 million for him, plus some players. And Sporting have come back and rejected that. They don't like the players that are being offered, and they want the full 70 million. So I think things have gone a little bit quiet on that at the moment. I feel Man City's priority really is to secure that centre-half spot first. And obviously, De Ligt, as indications are, is ruling out Man United because of the Champions League. So I think we're really down to two clubs. There's Man City, there's Barcelona. Barcelona have always been the favourite from word go on De Ligt, but don't rule out Man City yet because I think De Ligt can see the development potential at Man City under Pep Guardiola, and I think he would run straight into that team. It'll be interesting, obviously he's playing against England tonight, and it'll be interesting to see how he performs. I mean, this is a 19-year-old lad that's got the whole world watching him at the moment, and be interesting to see. You saw Felix last night, perhaps the pressure, his first international, perhaps weighed on his mind a little bit too much. So it'd be interesting to see how De Ligt performs. But I think from Man City's point of view, Felix will be a deal that I think will happen. Bruno Fernandes, I'm not so sure, but I think Pep Guardiola will want to tie up that centre-half position first. De Ligt, obviously the main target. Harry Maguire possibly, but when you look at the fees involved and the ages and the talent of the players, you would have to take De Ligt before Maguire. But I think once that position has been nailed down, then some of the other pieces will fall into place, whether it be Sane going out to Bayern, whether it be Felix on some form of loan back for a further year. But everything else will fall into place there. So we'll watch the game with interest tonight, England against Holland. Yes, we want to see an England win, but I'd be really interested to see how De Ligt performs, and more importantly, how he copes with the pressure. I mean, he's got a terrific centre-half in Van Dijk next to him to talk him through the game as well, and he doesn't need talking through, but it'd be interesting to see how he reacts to the pressure of the night. And anyway, if you like the videos, you like the channel, please subscribe below. That'd be really helpful for the channel, and I'll keep you up to date with all the latest transfer news as I hear it. Thanks for watching.